From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
All right, part two. We should prepare for it. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here. Paul Vallis in for Dan Croft. And I say part two because there's already chatter from my police friends that they're coming. They're coming again this Saturday, December 11th at 6 o'clock. They're going to meet downtown and try and wreak havoc. You know, just for fun. Beat up a CTA bus driver just for fun. And in case you haven't heard, the police officer who was arresting the ringleader of that beating of the police officer broke the police officer's arm, resisting arrest, and they fell into a pole, and he broke his forearm, the police officer. So, and then we're learning yesterday that a 12-year-old was shot in the back, ended up at a hospital
in Millennium Park, near Millennium Park.
Yeah, at 8:40 p.m. was shot in the back, ended up in a hospital in Munster, Indiana. It's still unclear, but now is at Comer Children's, recovering from her gunshot. And Mayor Lightfoot said it's up to the store owners because there was also, smash and grabs at Neiman Marcus.
That's right.
At Saks Fifth Avenue at the same time. This was all happening, all this chaos at the same time. And this is her answer or her solution to the problem.
I'm disappointed that they're not doing more to take safety and make it a priority. For example, we still have retailers that won't institute plans like having security officers in their stores, making sure that they've got cameras that are actually operational.
That costs money. And then why are you paying such exorbitant property taxes if you can't have the police protect you?
Well, let me point out that you see almost every day every time there's they're ransacking a store, you always seem to see cameras of people going through the stores.
So there are surveillance cameras, but are they arresting
great.
them?
What are the surveillance cameras doing at the end of the day? But it's so unfair to beat up on these owners who have been getting killed. I mean, this has been going on. This has been occurring since the big riots.
21 months.
21 months, and it's devastated businesses downtown.
And yesterday, the White House responded to Mayor Lightfoot's suggestion that retailers hire their own security guards.
We don't agree, and I think our actions and the work that we have had in working with the Justice Department, the FBI, and federal law enforcement show that we take. We have seen some of these extremely disturbing videos showing retail thefts, and both major retailers as well as state and local leaders like Governor Newsom have identified this as a serious concern. We agree. That's the reason why we have sent additional support from the FBI, providing additional assistance. It's one of the reasons why we have also been, the president and members of our administration have been longtime advocates for supporting and funding the COPS program, something where the president proposed.
Oh, so no longer defunding police, huh?
So if
now the Democrats are back on the fund police?
Yeah.
You guys are all confusing
right.
me. You're sending mixed messages.
Well, I'm confused, too, because the COPS program under Clinton was the federal government would pick up half the costs of every new police officer hired for 3 years. Is that what they're referring to? Have they restored that? No, what they've done is they've told the cities, in a defensive reaction to the criticism that they were advocating for defunding the cops, they said, the cities can use that COVID money to hire more cops. So are the cities doing that? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's get more from our returning guest, Illinois State Rep from the 8th District, LaShawn Ford. Good morning, Mr. Ford. How are you?
Good, Amy and Paul. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what would you, if you were mayor, let's just play that hypothetical situation, what would you do? You know that they're coming again this Saturday at 6 o'clock. They're going to meet downtown. What would you do to prevent it and to stop it this time around?
I mean, you send a strong message. You have a meeting with the judges, a press conference with the judges, with the state's attorney and the police, and you send the message that anyone caught downtown doing this will be prosecuted to the fullest extent. This is a moment where the mayor, the prosecutor, and the police could come together, stand together, and send a strong message. This is it. I mean, and there's no reason why Kim Foxx, Lightfoot, and Judge Evans don't come together right now to send a message.
Are you disappointed in Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx?
Kim, I think that we need to make sure that Kim Foxx and the mayor and the police come together. I mean, she's in a situation where everybody could do better. There's no doubt. And I do believe that she needs some balance in her office. And that's why the Speaker of the House appointed me to the Violence Prevention Task Force to bring people together. I mean, the reason why it's a problem is because Kim is on an island by herself. The police, they're on an island by themselves, and the city of Chicago and the judges. That's a recipe for disaster when criminals see leaders not together. When criminals see leaders fighting one another,
I'm going to have to push back because the police are making the arrests. We had 22 arrested. We're going to see how many were bonded out, but they're not setting high enough bonds. They're not sending a message to not do it again because they're coming again already. They've already planned it on social media.
That's what I mean, that everyone's divided. The police are dealt a bad hand. They are out to do what they're hired to do, and that is to arrest criminals. And if we don't do enough to make sure that we send the deterrents out there to stop them from doing what they're doing to our businesses and making all our lives less safe, then they might as well pack up and go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let me just make a couple observations. I think you're right on target when about the need for everybody to get on the same wavelength, so to speak, and there needs to be coordination and things like that. So there's no doubt about it. I agree with you. They talk past each other, and they're not talking to each other. So there certainly has been a lack of coordination. But I just want to make a couple observations. A CWB Chicago, which really puts out some of the best data, the crime data. Statistics, and they reported that 54 individuals had either shot somebody or killed somebody who were out on felony bail. And incidentally, that may not seem like a big number, but that constituted about 15% of those individuals who have been arrested. So if you applied that same 15% to all the murders and all the shootings in the city, it means that there's probably as many as 500 people who have gotten shot and many who have been killed by individuals out on felony bail. I think you'll agree that they've got to start distinguishing between nonviolent offenders and real violent offenders when it comes to felony bail, when it comes to the pretrial release, because clearly there's a large number of individuals who are out there and committing crimes again, who are actually out on bail. And when you consider that the police, first of all, are only arresting for those who shoot, they've only cleared 20% of the murders this year, 4% of the shootings this year. And then Fox doesn't charge about 1/4 of those who are in fact arrested. And then they're releasing about 3/4 of those individuals for incidentally violent offenses and gun charges. They're putting them through the early release program. What that means, or the pretrial release program, or they're on ankle monitors. The problem you have here is on any given day, you might have 70 or 80% of the individuals who are responsible for violent acts walking the streets and not, in custody of the county sheriff. That's the problem, and I think people in the community are terrified. And I think part of the problem that the police are experiencing is the public is reluctant to testify, in part because there are so many individuals who are on the street who need to be incarcerated or need to be denied bail. Would you agree?
I agree with you. Yeah, see, that's what it's the judges and it's Kim Foxx's office. You gave the numbers, 3/4. The judges have to do more to hold the violent criminals in. Kim Foxx should do more to make sure that she prosecutes violent offenders. So it's a balance. That's why I didn't just go hard on Kim Foxx, because you got to go hard on the judges. It's a balance.
Yep.
And so between the two, they have to come together in order to make all our lives safer. And, I just don't understand why the mayor of the city of Chicago doesn't work with you, Paul Vallis. I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge, and you should be on her team.
Oh, he should have been on. You should have been on her budget team
Yes.
to help with the budget.
I don't think that'll happen, but I appreciate it. I had the pleasure of participating in close to 40 forums with LaShawn during the election, and really, I mean, I also had the pleasure of interacting with him after I'd done that work with Sally Yates on education and occupational training reform in the federal prison system. There are so many things we can do that we are not doing. It really takes leadership. But
let's talk about that real quick, about prison. And you are pushing legislation to allow inmates to vote from prison.
Yeah, I think that having inmates, citizens vote while they're in prisons, it doesn't harm anyone. What it does, it sets these people, these citizens up for what you call real reform. Mm-hmm. If you get individuals that's locked up, that's going to be released one day back into our communities, being responsible citizens, then hopefully we have a better shot at them being productive. I believe that for the most part, people that vote, they're more apt to be more responsible. And so if we could get them to communicate in a positive way around voting and civics, it makes sense. And so it wouldn't hurt in any way.
Yeah, let me point out that what LaShawn is advocating for is not radical. First of all, everyone has the right, if they're in prison in all 50 states, to vote in national elections. So really? There is no prohibition. And only 16 states, do felons lose their voting rights during incarceration and for a short time after. So in the vast majority of the states, individuals can vote. Let me point out that I think, and again, knowing LaShawn and having participated in public forums with him, the whole idea is to create a mechanism so that you can re-enter people back into the community. And obviously political participation and voting rights, that's a part of it too. But more importantly, so many individuals are released from incarceration and they haven't provided them with the training. They haven't provided them with the support services. They're released without any adult ed or occupational training skills. So it's not uncommon in many communities in Chicago. And I think, Sean, you'll back this up to have, I was talking to Alderman Beal, for example, like you might have 50, 60% of the men in that community who are some phase of the criminal justice system. It's somewhere along the process, either prior offenders or they're in the initial phases. So you've got to begin to coordinate efforts to, in effect, reengage these individuals rather than releasing them to the community without skills and without occupational skills, without any sort of job prospects, and in many cases barred from getting city jobs or getting loans to start up businesses and things like that. So you've got to have a strategy to deal with this population. And I understand where you're coming from. It's just another way to reengage people.
It is, absolutely. And if you want to get people back to being productive or lead them to a productive citizenry, I think that's one way. I mean, voters are more responsible, I think,
I'm going to make two suggestions because
because he's Paul Vallis.
Your influence in the legislature is growing. You've really got to push them on doing something to kind of force these states' attorneys to begin distinguishing between violent and not violent offenders. And look, I mean, to reclaim these kids that are walking the streets, there is no reason why all these high schools, with the COVID monies that they have gotten, there's no reason why they can't offer these students work-study like the Cristo Rey High School model so that these kids can be engaged off the street, engaged. The city could create work-study internships. Businesses that get these massive city subsidies could create work-study internships. I mean, so that these kids are off the street and re-engaged and have a reason to return to school and have a reason to stay in school. And that's something that I believe that you can advocate for. And I think that's something that you'll agree with me on, the need to get these kids engaged and in safe, secure environments. And there's no better environment for these high school kids to be than in an environment where they're surrounded by working men and women. And
I was a founding board member of, Christ the King on the West Side.
Yes, of course. Yes. Well,
and so, I think that that's absolutely right. And I think that the city needs to engage you and engage me in these efforts. There are a few things that I think that the Judge Evans could do. They're redeploy Illinois for juveniles. It's all over the state and other counties, but we don't have redeployed juveniles in Cook County.
Right.
That's horrible. We have to have that. Also, in 2013, we passed a bill for witness protection. The only thing, it hasn't been funded. The Speaker of the House was the chief sponsor of it. I was a chief co-sponsor. Witness protection is the law of the land in Illinois, but we're not funding it. There's something wrong with that.
That's what's needed.
Absolutely.
That's why we have so many unsolved crimes. All right, guys, we're going to have to leave it there for today. LaShawn Ford, Illinois State Rep, 8th District, always a pleasure, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hallelujah! Holy
On AM 560.
Where's the Tylenol?
The Answer.
The new administration has big plans for your health insurance. Changes that can limit your choices.